she's going to do some introductions, and then she's going to. Oh, here we
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this month's episode of Winephabet Street. We are excited to bring you the letter C this month, and we are talking Carignan with Tana Cole and Greg Burns of Jessie's Grove Winery in Lodi. So welcome. We are thrilled to have you. So we're going to do just a little quick round of brief introductions. So for those of you who do not know, I am your co-host, Lori. My husband and I own Dracaena Wines in Paso Robles. I write an award-winning blog and produce a podcast under Exploring the Wine Glass. I am a UC Davis winemaking graduate, along with a champagne specialist and sommelier service, Côte d'Aron, and currently in the Spanish Wine Scholar program. Keeping fingers crossed. I'm getting nervous because the test is coming up soon. So, Deb, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Debbie Giaquinda. I'm a certified specialist of wine, a wine location specialist in port and champagne, and a certified sherry wine specialist. I'm known as the Hudson Valley Wine Goddess. And I also am an author of the book, Tapping the Hudson Valley, Day Trips and Weekend Itineraries, visiting the Hudson Valley wine region and their craft beverage producers, farms, restaurants. And I own a restaurant in Wildwood, New Jersey, or North Wildwood, New Jersey, called Trio North Wildwood. And we kick in our 6-day work week starting tomorrow until September. So, and I'm also chairperson of the Hudson Valley Wine and Spirits Competition. So,
wow.
And today,
I don't want anything else added to my plate.
Yeah. And today we are
inadequate.
No.
Just a winemaker here.
Just a winemaker here.
That is plenty. That is absolutely plenty. And today we need to be thankful to Michael Kelly, who gave us this introduction. And we have Tana Cole and Greg Burns of Jessie Grove's Winery with us to discuss Carignan and all the beauty that it is. So welcome. And if you guys can just give us a little brief history about how you each kind of got into the wine industry, that would be fantastic.
I'll let Tana go. She's our head winemaker.
So let's see how I got into the wine industry. I was a flight attendant based out of JFK for about 15 years back in the 90s and early 2000s. And traveling gave me a love of wine. And I loved learning about wine and tasting wine all over the world. And I got bored and decided that I would go back to school and study winemaking. And that led me to California, of course. And I guess the rest is kind of history. I've been with Greg here at Jessie's Grove off and on since harvest of 2018. And I've left a couple times, gained a little bit more experience, and keep coming back. This place kind of gets under your skin and you don't want to leave. And he and
I'm
work,
thankful for that.
Well, he and I work really, really well together, and we enjoy making wine together. So we're a good team.
Yes.
So, so that's my history. Greg has a lot.
That was very brief. She's got a lot of history.
Greg has the longest history, though. His family started this ranch in the early 1800s. Mm-hmm. So I'll let him tell you a little bit about that and about Jessie's Grove.
Yes. Yeah, so my family goes back to 1868 on this ranch. So, we originally...
Just a few years.
Just a few years. Yeah. And I always want people to know I'm not the first generation. I may look like it, but I'm this generation. So we now I have a 7th generation that's 10 months old already. So wow. It's a beautiful history. We've been growing grapes on this. We're German immigrants, and we've been growing grapes on this ranch since the 1880s. We have the oldest Cinsault vineyard purportedly in the world. It's called the Bechtel Cinsault. Google it, and it's a fabulous vineyard. We have a Zinfandel vineyard that goes back to 1889, and this is our 3rd oldest vineyard. The Carignan. So it goes back to 1900, but historically, I've been back to the family since the 1990s, 1994, from other careers, and took up grape growing from my family and been on it ever since, and got into the winemaking as a home winemaker in 94. Commercially, we licensed and bonded, and I brought in a consultant, and I worked the winery from 1998 until now. So this is my 22nd vintage as a commercial winemaker.
Wow.
And yeah, a lot of history. Formal education was life education on winemaking. And,
That's the best kind.
And Tana
Yes.
brings formal education, as well as she's a good MacGyver as well out on the winery side.
I think you kind of have to be.
You got to be around. Yeah,
Well,
that's
that is wonderful, and we are excited to get into Carignan. So we're going to start our little introduction video, and then it's going to be time to taste and talk Carignan.
Awesome.
love it. Oh, yeah.
Deb, I'm having technical difficulty.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, it's in there.
I don't know if I should watch that.
I don't know. We're going to have to. You want to try it?
That was mute.
Me, it says in order not to interfere with the video's audio signal.
I don't know.
You hear it? I heard it.
I heard it, but it
I
didn't
heard it.
play. It didn't
Oh, it
play.
played on my end.
It was playing on ours too.
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. So I just didn't see it. All right, works for me. All right. Well, now comes the most Debbie's and my favorite part of the night, where we actually get to raise a glass, taste the wine, and say slancha.
Lunch him up.
Mm. That's really nice.
Thank you.
That is
Thank you.
beautiful. That is beautiful.
you.
Wow.
That's our 2019 vintage.
Wow.
It is. Wow.
It's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite things on the ranch. And
Yeah.
if you ask me about another vineyard on the ranch, I'll tell you that that's my favorite too. But they're like children. There's reasons to love them all. Yeah.
I get it. And Carignan, I think, is such a special grape variety, and not a lot of people have tasted it, have had it. It's not a grape variety that rolls off of somebody's tongue like, oh yeah, this is my favorite grape variety. But I love it. I think that it is an unsung hero in my opinion.
Go ahead.
We do too. And we're finding more and more winemakers who want to make wine from our vineyard. I mean, every year we can't grow enough of it, but there's only so much of it because it's 122 years old.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's only an 8-acre vineyard.
That's
And-
it?
Yeah,
8
just 8 acres. Yep.
Wow.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
a good producer. It's for the antiquity of those vines at 122 years old. We still, as the grower side of me, we still have to thin in light canopy, do all the normal
Wow.
things.
Yeah.
It's very, very much deficit irrigated. It's spent most of its life with zero irrigations. And the vines are over 6 feet tall.
They're huge. They're like
Oh
trees.
my goodness.
They really are. They're enormous.
Wow.
What's their
The
width
curve
of
is like it's
Yeah.
like I don't know. Can you see? They're
Yeah.
like this. Yeah. The
Oh my
leaves too. The leaves are enormous.
Yes, the leaves
They're
can be
like-
this big.
Yep. Like almost dinner plate size.
Yes.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
wow.
It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Wow.
Jeez.
So the winery itself dates back. You kind of briefly talked about it, but Joseph Spenker. First of all, he rode cross country on a horse, like in 1862. So I don't know. All I could think about is, man, my butt would be so sore. And I love horseback riding, but that's a lot of riding.
That's a lot of riding.
Right? And
he survived that.
Yeah, and he came to California, in hunts, of the gold mining. I wanted to be rich, but he kind of failed there, but was successful in another route. So can you kind of tell us how he pivoted and how this plays role into your history?
Oh, absolutely. That's one of my favorite things is talking history, outside of drinking wine, of course. but yes, he's one of 6 brothers in Germany. He wanted to come to California because in Germany, in northern, he was up in Elmshorn, Germany. It was very small, and he knew that there wasn't much opportunity individually. So he decided, I'm going to go all the way to California, where they're scooping up the gold off the ground. So and then I could buy all the acreage I want. So he spent 3 years. He came to the U.S. alone at 17 years old, spent 3 years on the East Coast learning the language. As you said, on horseback, he hooked up with a wagon train and 156 days across country to Stockton, California, which was the gateway of the Delta waterway system for everybody that was getting into mining. He went to Murphy's. After he spent all of his money outside of what he had, plus his horse, and went to Murphy's, and he mined, and he got stiffed on the fool's claim that many others had. It was just like, this didn't pan out. Brag about it all you want. He believed in it. He gave up his horse to mine. 3 weeks into it, the old timers told him, "Son, you've been taken advantage of. It will never pan out." He realized it. So now at 18, 19, 20, probably 20 years old at this time, he walked the Murphy's Grade Road to Stockton, which would by car takes an hour and a half, an hour plus. So he was walking. He had $1.29 in his pocket. Caught a ride on a wagon for $1. 29 cents in his pocket. He ended up in Stockton, went to work for a farmer, and the farmer recognized his talent, made him a foreman. He was making $14.50 a month, room and board.
Wow.
As he built his integrity and confidence with his boss, he found that he saved every dime he had, and he went to the general store and bought all the supplies that he saw that they needed in Murphy's to survive as gold miners. And he borrowed a team of horses and a wagon from the farmer and sold it for 200% markup. Over the course of the next couple of years, he owned his own teams of horses and wagons, and eventually he was able to re-embark on turn 29 cents into 1,500 acres of land.
Wow. That's a heck of a turnaround.
Smart man. No, smart man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very
never
smart.
give up. Never give up. Yeah.
Well, the
right
tenacity, right? You
Mhm.
can't. The tenacity of it is just incredible.
He is the matriarch of the ranch. He's the one that defines what we're about, and his daughter Jessie carried that legacy forward in her generation and preserved what he started here. The home ranch was bought in 1868, and he met his wife. He met his future bride via. He was settled. Now he needed to marry because he wanted to start a family, and he met her at a wedding. He married her the next day.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a whole other story there. My mom wrote the book of the family history, which spans 150 years from Elmshorn and Dargen, the two cities of northern Germany that they didn't even know each other. They came here 10 years apart. She came here via the Transcontinental Railroad. The tracks east meets west were only 10 days old. And when she crossed as a freed indentured servant to come to a wedding in Stockton and start a new life, and they met, they were married the next day. And
wow.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's quite a legacy. Like I said, my mom's book is a very celebrated book. It's in
So would Jessie be your mom's grandmother?
great grandmother. Yeah,
Great grandmother.
actually, Jessie would be her grandmother. Her great grandmother would have been Anna.
Okay.
Anna was the indentured servant that married Joseph.
Right. So Jessie is your wife's grandmother.
My
Mother's.
my mother's
Oh,
grandmother.
I meant your mother's. Yeah, your mother's grandmother.
Uh-huh.
I need an org chart. No.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
know.
So your great grandmother.
Yes.
Your
Okay.
great grandmother.
Yes.
Okay.
You know,
Wow.
history is relevant everywhere we go. Tana and I are working with a wonderful, dear set of friends to reface and to re-embolden the value of the history this year.
Yep.
Yeah. And we're making headway. What do you think?
Absolutely. Every day.
Makes our
Every
heads
day.
spin, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Every day. Yeah.
That's so much history.
It is.
It's
That
a lot.
I mean, that really is. And I mean, and Jessie, just her values, her virtues carry on her father's legacy down now generations.
Yep.
Yes, she
Absolutely.
did.
Yep.
She was a one-woman band. She was instrumental in women's suffrage, the right to vote, everything.
A force to be reckoned with.
A force to be reckoned
I
with.
love it.
There are very few men that could ever come alongside her and been able to carry the load and the tenacity that she had. And the story is intense and immense. My mom, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that my mom, who's now 91, is the one that tells the story, that history. She, since COVID, she hasn't been back out here, but she would sit with groups, 10, 15, 20 people. For which it will be on our website soon. We had it professionally done, telling her stories, and she tells it in first person character voice. The heroes and villains all the way through the history of Joseph and the history of Anna, all the way to the present.
Oh, wow.
And this is one of her favorite wines, by the way.
So she has good taste too.
Yeah.
Actually, she does. She really
does.
does. Yeah.
So, and additionally, you have like a framed legal document from Ulysses S. Grant.
Yes, we do.
So tell us the story of that. And then did that just show up? How they find, at like the antiques things or whatever, you just happened to open a wall and it was there, or how did we find this?
We have so many things that are historical just in our tasting room, and we're trying to decide how and where we're going to put all of this stuff. We even have a museum that's out in a barn that has old farm equipment that's not just like irrelevant old farm equipment. It's actually things that are really interesting, along with pictures of people doing things. I mean, it's really kind of special. Not just everywhere has this kind of thing.
No.
But the Ulysses S. Grant.
So, how often do you have this is a copy of the original. We have the original in a safe, but it's in full color and signed by Ulysses S. Grant as a grant deed to the property. It's very special to carry that kind of history back in time.
And did you just find it randomly, or was it passed? Was it held coveted and was okay, pass this from generation to generation?
Well, when my mother took on the mission to be able to put the 150 years of family history together, that it was the art of discovery. Her aunt, which was Jessie's daughter, and my great aunt, Vera Perrin. Vera collected everything, but primarily she collected the family history from her mother Jessie and from her grandmother Anna, and she carried that. And she lived to be 103 years old.
Wow.
When she was still living in her house at 95, 98 years old, I could sit with her and she could tell me the history of all her neighbors that used to live next to her. She couldn't tell you what happened yesterday, but she could tell you. They could tell you who lived there, where they moved to, who their kids were. So that type of mentality held intact her mother's and her grandmother's history. It's where my mom worked with her for 5 years to develop the book and the timeline and translating it, because a lot of everything that they discovered was in German. Yeah, so it was quite a legacy. But somewhere along the line, I don't know where this particular grant surfaced. It was probably in a lot of the archive collections she kept in her house. You know, very special.
Yeah, people recognized importance of historical things back then. Now people just rip things apart and throw them away.
And throw them out.
You know.
There's no saving anything.
Yeah.
You know.
I
told my kids there's certain things that they cannot throw out. But then again, I'll be dead, so who knows what'll happen.
My mom, over the years and years that she's sat and told this story, and it never wavered from her book. She always had her book, and she would show the page and the text and referenced it always. But it was, to your point, there were so many people that sat with her and said, I wish I had kept my documents. We had no idea that all these amazing photos, didn't know who the family members were. We just threw them away.
Yeah.
We said, once it's gone, it's gone.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. That's true.
Look at the legacy of your family. How many?
They've been here a long time.
Tell us how long you've been in the States, your family.
Well, they're from the East Coast, or Debbie, you're from the East Coast?
Yes.
So we
Yeah,
both
you're
are.
Yeah. So your family probably goes back a really long way too. My family helped settle Massachusetts in the 1600s. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
I'm a newbie.
so a long
Wow.
time, right?
No, my grandfather came to the States in the 1920s.
Okay.
And my grandmother was already here. My other side of my family, I don't know. They came from Germany when Alsace was part of Germany.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, a long time.
We had a relative on the Titanic.
Oh, that's cool too. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Hopefully one of the survivors.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't think so.
Not very many.
I don't think so.
Oops.
The Chilean experience.
The name is on the manifest, and that's all we know.
That's
Oh.
really cool though. My
Wow.
family were shipbuilders, and that's how they came. They were back and forth. So
Oh, okay.
that's why they were here, or why
My great aunt wrote a book on our family. We had vineyards in Hungary and
cool.
and stuff, and she wrote a book on the whole thing. I was reading the best trashy novel about your family.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. So your guys are 6 generations in the wine industry, and that's pretty significant.
Yeah.
And how everything dates back.
Yeah.
And going on 7 in the area. Are you one of the oldest families?
I would say so.
Yes.
For sure. I mean, there are a few other really old vineyards. I think the Kirschman Vineyard and the
Michael David's history goes
Lodi.
back to the, I think, about the same timeline,
Okay.
1860s, 1880s.
Okay.
Yeah, there's about 3 or 4 families, and the Metlers as well.
Okay. The Metlers.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's amazing how much history Lodi has. I think it's lost over quite a bit, but Lodi is a really cool place to be. It really is.
I've been to Lodi, and I think so. I was there on a press trip, and I want to go back.
Well, come
Here's-
visit.
I know you have to wait till January, February, or March for me to go anywhere.
I understand. Come on down, or come on
I have
over.
to
Mark,
I was
really?
very impressed. I went for the Wine Bloggers Conference a few years ago, and it was very eye-opening to because in all honesty, Lodi kind of gets a bad rap.
I agree.
They get a bad rap, and bad raps occur because people get one concept in the mind and that's what takes off, and people don't
Yep.
really experience it.
Yep.
But in terms of being there, the wines were exceptional, and the knowledge of the grapes that grow well and how to grow them well in the region was fantastic. And I think that's, you can have a not so, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but like a not so desirable region, right? Lodi has the heat, all of that stuff. So it's not like, this is, heaven on earth, but
Right.
how to grow the grapes that grow well and make the region be exceptional. So it's now a fantastic region to be in because you know how to work the land, basically.
Exactly. And what grows well, I mean, everybody comes, and people who are used to going to Napa will always say, oh, I want a cab. Well, we grow a lot of cab in Lodi, but I don't think it's our best foot forward, if you will. But we do grow Bordeaux varietals here that do well. Like our Petit Verdot is an award-winning Petit Verdot, and it grows really well here, and it produces a beautiful wine. We also do Merlot pretty well, and Malbec pretty well as well. But Petit and Petit Syrah. So it just depends on the varietals. I mean, like any region. So I think Lodi's gotten. There are a lot of things that will grow here, but like any other region, there are some specific varietals that do very well here and produce really good wine.
And I think that Lodi takes their region so seriously. And I love the fact that you put on your own stipulations of what makes categories, like the Lodi rules and all of that. You take what the TTB, what the, AB, all of that stuff, and they have all their own regulations. And then you guys like, that's good. We're going to follow those rules because we have to, because it's governmental law, but we're going to make these rules to make sure that we're producing the best quality wine that we can in there.
Yep. It's fun. Yeah, it is. It is important. Yeah, I agree.
We I think it was from the 1990s forward when the Lodi Wine Grape Commission really got some momentum going. Then we got away from the big winery format where we were the filling element to hit the big bulk programs, and we know who we're talking about when we say those big wineries. And that transformation from there from the early 90s into late 90s, when we came aboard in 1998 into the early 2000s, and Lodi rules developing from there, we've evolved probably faster than most regions, because other regions like Napa Sonoma already had their signature. They are who they are. And they were hard to compete against, and we had no opportunity to be comparable or compatible. But by the early 2000s, there were a lot of wineries in Napa Sonoma that were sending fruit from over the hill to them from us into their programs, and in their Lodi appellation wines under their forte.
Well, Lori, you're in Paso, so how do you feel about Paso and seeing that region grow up? Because I mean, it kind of started that way, and now Paso has moved up in the world as well.
Yeah,
it is. It's exciting and scary at the same point. We have people who are moving in that it's good for the community, but is it good for the community? And there's that worried essence of, we want to be Paso and we want to remain Paso. And are we following in the footsteps of other regions that we may not want to follow the footsteps in. So it is, it's an interesting time. I would like to hope that as much as the money is starting to come into Paso, the people who are being purchased are still sticking to their guns of keeping it Paso. And like my favorite neighbor, like that's big money now, but Eric is still involved in day-to-day things, making sure it's still Paso. And that's what I hope continues as we do it. But yeah, as a region becomes recognized for having quality fruit, other people are going to come in and want that fruit. And, Lodi fruit, Paso fruit, no matter how phenomenal it is, it's at the moment cheaper than the other, than Napa Sonoma fruit. So those wineries are going to say, my gosh, this is a bargain. I can make double gold wine. I can make 90 plus point wine for significantly less dollar. Why not take that fruit?
That's exactly where we're sitting with our ancient vine fruit. And like the Carignan, we have winemakers knocking on our door that say, can we please have some of your fruit? We want to make some Carignan too, or from our ancient vine Zinfandel, we want to be a part of that vineyard. And there's only so much.
Right.
And
so
we,
so many bunches.
and that leads me right into your Cinsault. Like, oh my God, that Cinsault, like, bow down and praise whatever entity you pray to for that Cinsault. I mean, the Betchold Vineyard is the vineyard for Cinsault. And, we have Turley that makes the Cinsault from there. And it's incredible.
It's beautiful. Yep. Tegan does a beautiful job.
Yes, he does.
He also gets the Carignan, right?
Yes, he gets our Carignan.
Is it this? Oh, see, I didn't know that, but I love that wine too.
Under his own label, under Sandlands.
Yeah, that's right.
Sandlands is his own label. Amazing guy. I would be the first person who wanted to listen to him to be interviewed. He's brilliant. He's
personable,
passionate, committed, personable, and it's just like his boss Larry Turley. He stands out in the crowd. He's tall. Our royalties Zinfandel was I farmed it for Turley, for Larry Turley, through one of his second winemaker, Aaron Jordan, beyond Helen, his sister. He moved on to Aaron and really got connected with that family. So when Tegan came into the fold, it was so natural and nice to have the Turley loop back in our lives again.
That's cool.
Honestly, the vineyard is, I don't think there is another Cinsault vineyard that is comparable to that. Like that really is the we're not worthy vineyard.
Yep, definitely. Yep, we feel that way too.
You need to put up some sort of statue or something so when people come to visit it, they can bow down, get their pictures taken.
I know.
We feel that way about the Carignan Vineyard and the Royalty Vineyard as well. And when we take people out there, everyone is amazed. I've had friends that have visited and want to name a vine because they're so excited about seeing the vineyards because they're unlike anything else that people have seen. They're really amazing.
The best experience.
Now, how many acres? You said you had 8 acres, right? Of the Carignan.
7.5. Yeah, 7.4.
7.5.
Yeah, we do. The Royalties Zinfandel vineyard that was planted in 1889 is got about a half an acre of its 5 acre. It's only 5 acre block. Maybe a little bit more than half an acre that is also Carignan. And so, it kind of rounds it out. And it also has age factor to it. So it's not just 122 years old. It's now, there's some of it is potentially, when it's added back in, is 130 some years old.
Oh, wow. How do you maintain vines that are so old? I mean, here in the East, we have to every year worry about frost and, replant and stuff. And these vines are 122 years old. I mean, how do you keep them going?
Through the test of time.
Yeah. A lot of them are, the Carignan are falling over. And we spent a lot of time last year out in the vineyard staking them and propping them up. So that they could continue to be healthy and produce. The Royalty Vineyard, the Zinfandel, it's actually a field blend. So we call it a Zinfandel vineyard, but it's really a field blend.
About 85% Zin.
About 85% Zin, that's right. And it has a little bit of Mission, a little bit of Black Prince. Thank you.
I heard that. I heard you're pouring more wine.
My first glass is empty.
We like that about you. But maintaining the old vines, you probably can speak more to that than I can.
Well, you've been out there helping me, girl. Yeah.
It's a labor of love.
We use, I know I don't want to use conventional metal stakes. I use wood stakes. I find a limb that's hanging low and bring it up to the right height and cut that stake off just at that perfect height with a notch so that when I tie it, it won't slip.
It's like giving grandma a
corset.
A corset or a walking stick or
a walking stick, a walker.
A walker, yeah. It kind of looks like a vineyard full of walkers.
Tender loving care.
Does, but it's
tender loving care.
It is TLC for sure. Yeah.
But when you see the size of those vines, the Cinsault, because of its age, its antiquity, is just you're walking into something that is pure history.
It's humbling.
The Royalty and the Zinfandel and the Carignan, you're walking in the equivalent of this, the Valley of the Giant trees, of vines. These are.
Did you see Michael Kelly said that earlier?
Did he?
Just on the
like
yep on the chat. Yep, that's cute.
What is it? Greg LaFollette said of the Royalty and of the Carignan, he buys part of that as well. And he said the only appropriate way to walk into that vineyard is on your knees with your hat off and give homage.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're not worthy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're here to learn.
And it tells you something every year. I mean, it really does. I mean, it tells you, how much fruit do I need to drop? When do I need to pull these leaves?
Yes.
And
it continually educates me. I mean, this is 30 plus years of growing, and every year up until the last 5 years, I think it was a humbling experience of, oh, did I get that right? No, I don't think I did. How do you get the best from these vines? And now I think we're into a vein of communication and or a language that the vines and we speak together.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
it is.
I'm going to
like
say that this 2019 Carignan, which there we go, spoke well to you and you spoke well to it because
it speaks well to us.
And it has carried over to speaking very well to us, as Debbie said, because this is beauty in a glass. Oh,
thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, it is. So can you talk us through the vintage, what it was like to make the wine, what you look for, when you're making the final product, tell us through how from vineyard to bottle, what you had to do for this beautiful wine.
So
grape to glass.
Yeah, from grape to glass. So it's usually one of the last things that we bring in. It's one of the things that ripen the latest. So it's typically I don't know what number this one was, but I looked up to see what the 20 was. It was the 44th thing that we brought in that year. So
Yeah.
it's one of the last.
This was the W19037.
Okay, so
37th
it was the 37th. So depending on how many lots we bring in every year, it's usually one of the latest. It's late ripening, and it hangs there until the last second, until we just decide it's time. It's sugars are right, and we're happy with the way that it looks and tastes, and we bring it in and just give it some love, and then we let it age. I think Michael was asking how long do we let it age, and we let it age for about 18 months, and this vintage only has between 5 and 10% oak, so we're very light on the oak. This year seems to taste a little bit more acidic than others.
Is the oak a couple years old?
Most all of our oak is neutral, and then we'll put just a small percentage on some new oak, and we'll just use that to blend back in until we figure out exactly what we want. Carignan's also a really good blender, so we'll use a little bit of Carignan to blend back into some Zen or something else that we want that spiciness to, or a little bit more fruit to add to anything else that just kind of needs it. And we just work our magic and in the blending room.
And it's still magic to us, even though we've had so
Every
many
year.
vintages. It's like, wow, watch this.
Ooh, let's taste that. Ooh, what if we do this?
It's hard for us to get anything else done. We just want to go out there and taste.
Yep, exactly. Yep, it's fun.
So now you do spell it the Spanish way with the E on it.
Yep.
So is there a reason for that? Do you just like the way it looks with the E? What's that?
That is a Lodi thing.
Yes,
so
it
if
is.
you ask Greg, say Carignan, he would most.
Carrigan.
So that's a very Lodi word.
Carrigan.
Yep. Yeah.
Not Carignan.
Not Carignan.
Yeah, it was. I've had so many former salespeople that they called it everything under the sun, from carry-on luggage to whatever. It's
carry-on luggage. I love it.
There were 3 names that I was going to give my daughter, who's Jessica, the mother of the 7th generation, and she became Jessica, but Megan was in their hunt, but also Carrigan.
Wow.
If she become Carrigan, she would have a real identity crisis with like, nobody can get my name right. And I think that honestly, in marketing, that has actually hurt its shelf space, because people don't know what it is.
Yeah, it does have.
And it does go by a bunch of other names as well.
Yeah.
All throughout the world too.
Yes, it does.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we call it Carignan or Carrigan.
Carrigan. I do. I think that has a lot to do with not just Carignan in general, but like a lot of other grape varieties in the United States. United States people, Americans want to be able to pronounce what they're drinking.
Exactly.
And they're not comfortable picking up a bottle that they're like, oh, I don't know how to say this, or why is this spelled this way, or something like that. But I mean, in all honesty, for this, I'm happy, because that just means more for me.
Well, thanks.
Interesting side note, not side note, but the value and history of that. There's 7 different wineries that participate in this 8-acre block, but they're assigned. I look at I do the historical numbers and dissect it to pieces, and I look at how many pounds we actually are pulling from the vineyard, not in terms of tons per acre, but pounds per vine. And we allocate to the different wineries that number of vines that that they're going to get this year. It's not how many rows. It could be as simple as how many vines in one row.
The bunches of the Carignan grapes are enormous, and some of them, what do you think they top out at?
They can. This year they're not. We
Okay.
had to do a walk this
Okay.
year. They're smaller bunches, but
Okay.
they can go up to 3/4 of a pound
Yeah,
per bunch.
they're
Yeah,
big.
Wow.
I mean, that's a heavy bunch of
Yeah,
grapes.
it is.
Huh.
This year they're
Wow.
about 0.5. Yeah,
Okay.
so they're a third less than what we would normally see.
They're still
Is it-
tiny.
Oh, yeah. They're still sizing. They're not. There's no way we.
Yeah,
can
it's
close
early.
separation.
Yeah, it's really early
Yeah.
yet, but
But they stand off. They're so beautiful. You know, with the moss and the lichen on the vines from 122 years of history out
Yeah.
there.
it's beautiful.
I'm a big fan of lichen. I think it's so pretty.
I do
like
Yeah,
too.
it is.
You know, you talk a lot about your Cinsault and Carignan, you know, the vineyards and stuff. And at one point, there was some confusion between the two grapes. Why do you think there was a confusion, between the grapes?
Carignan and Cinsault.
Yeah,
The confusion.
I think they get lumped together.
yeah.
Like,
Maybe so. I think a lot of perception is that they were used in the past as like filler
Mhm.
wines and
oh,
instead of as separate varietals. And we just happened to be lucky here that they didn't get pulled out
Mhm.
and that we have the opportunity, to continue to make them as single varietals. And that Greg started the tradition, I guess, of making them as single varietals.
The first vintage, I went back in time. The first vintage we made was 2003.
Ah, interesting.
Wow.
4,
Okay.
5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's a lot of vintages.
That is a lot of vintages. Yeah.
There was a 32-acre block that's the Merlot now
Okay.
that was right next door. And very few things in my family ever always agree on, but we were tree huggers when it came to that vineyard. We did not want to eliminate that 32-acre block. But it was a 1930s, 1940s. No issues, no vine decline, no viral
incredible.
issues. But age matters. This vine with its 100 century mark plus was night and day. I did back then I did a side by side. I wanted to do the Hail Mary, at the football game when you're behind and you're going to throw that last shot and it's into the end zone and hopefully somebody's going to catch it, right? Well, it didn't catch. We took the 32 acres out because it could not carry the antiquity of the flavor profile.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yep. That's something that's also we find interesting about the Carignan, the Royalty, the other ancient vine, or not ancient vine, but the other old vine vineyards that are here are the intensity of the fruit. From other younger vines, you just don't get the intensity of the fruit. It just, I guess it's the tons per acre that it produces, while this one still produces almost 6 tons to the acre, which is amazing.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot, but the
I'm on
intensity of
steroids.
yeah, no kidding. The intensity of the fruit that you get from the ancient vines is so different than what we get from other vineyards, and that's not to take away from any of the other vineyards because we think that we produce really good fruit here, but
Winemakers don't make good bean counters, do we?
no, we don't. No, we don't.
The logistics can say you cannot continue that vineyard, and we're not talking about the Carignan, but the West Wind and others. When they're less than 1.5 tons to a ton per acre, but yet, what would you say the best vineyard of taste profile is on around?
Whew. There are several,
The West Wind
but
might be in
yeah,
there. I'm sorry,
West-
this is a bait and hook now.
yeah.
West
But
Wind's
our
in there.
Westwind Zinfandel has a very much a signature profile that for a Zinfandel that is very different from any other. I think Lodi Zin. I think Lodi Zin carries a signature, and this one doesn't carry that signature. And that's not to take away from any other Lodi Zen, because we grow a lot of Lodi Zen. But that vineyard carries a different signature, and the intensity of the fruit is amazing. It produces one of the best Zinfandels I've ever had.
Wow.
I absolutely love it. Yeah. But I think we do Petit Verdot really well. I think our Petit Syrah is amazing. Our other Zins are really good. We have an Alicante Boucher, which there's only 1%, I think, of California is planted in Alicante, and we're lucky enough to have that. And yeah,
we'll have to mental note that, Debbie, for season 4.
All right, I'll put that in the notebook. I've got stuff I'm doing for season 4 already. Alicante, okay.
So bringing it back to Carignan, your Carignan is in Vaso, or head trained. Is that typical for? I mean, I don't even know if you can call typical, because I think you guys are Carignan. You are what makes Carignan Carignan. So, like, is that how the vines like to be grown, or is that just traditional? What are the benefits of Invaso or head trained?
I like the Invaso.
I do too.
Yes, and that is more indicative of what it is than head trained. But it's wire was never introduced until the 1950s, 60s, somewhere in there, I think. Never became a signature aspect for putting trellising in until then, in the 1960s, 70s. So it's there was only one way to grow vines. Is it a better system? It's hard to know, because for this particular vine, I would say yes, absolutely it is, and there's a reason why, and that's the age of these vines. And what I had to learn as a young grower could have shot a hole in the whole program. And I was thinking, why don't we train these as vertical as possible? Why do we have these long arms hanging out there? As we discussed earlier, have to put extra stakes in to hold them up. Why not just get back to the trunk of the vine? Well, it's the extrapolation, it's the extraction, the concentration happens with the antiquity of the vine. So if you put that on a trellis system, I don't think you would have ever gotten that. You would have always kept it short. Getting these densities and complexities really matters with the length of arms. I was back in the early 1990s. I was able to farm the royalties and the Carignan both directions with a tractor and a disc. There's no way ever could do that anymore. They've continued
to grow
in a singular direction to the point where they're almost touching their neighbor 10 foot away.
Wow.
And so it's like, oh my God. Yeah. Is that good? Yeah. I think that's what's in the glass that makes the difference.
Yeah, I think so too. It's also all of the attention that it gets from the hands. Those vines get touched multiple times because you just can't get in there any other way. So everything has to be hand harvested. There's no moving machinery and equipment in there to do any of the hard work that has to be done. Everything has to be done by hand. So it's very expensive to farm. And just like we were talking, the bean counters, we have to convince them every year why we want to continue to do it. But we do.
Because of this right here. This is why I convinced them to do it.
Exactly. We want to continue to do it because we love it. There's only one other vineyard that's a Carignan vineyard that I know of that is as old as ours, and that's in Sonoma County. It's called the Oatville Vineyard, and it's up in Cloverdale.
Okay.
I think it's mixed in with the Zinfandel vineyard. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but there's other grapes that grow in that vineyard besides Carignan.
Is it vinified separately?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah. Nancy
we need a road trip.
We do.
Yeah, road trip.
Nancy Walker, she makes a Carignan from that vineyard. Hers is absolutely beautiful.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do we know the parents of Carignan?
Ooh, do we know the parents of Carignan? I might be able to Google it for you real quick. No, I don't.
Actually, I don't. I actually did some research, and I don't think they do know either.
Yeah, I don't.
Its origin intensity was in Spain and France.
Right.
In France, they actually paid growers to take the Carignan out because it was so prolific. It was undermining the intensity of what their region was with their cabs and their other types of blends. And so, but
yeah,
California,
the home is like Carinena in Spain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also had quite a history in Sardinia.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes,
I
I
did
was
not know
reading
that.
up on it, and I closed
cool.
the file. But yeah,
I'm going to Google that. That's awesome. I have
Mhm.
not read that. I know the red wines that come from there are supposed to be the ones that have the most resveratrol. So drink up.
Another reason.
Exactly.
Another reason.
yeah.
Exactly.
And because Carignan is a late ripener, does it pose any problems for you?
Never. I don't
Never?
think
No.
we have no issues with any mold. I mean, the fruit comes in every year. It's some of the most beautiful fruit that you could ever see.
It's almost like
it is susceptible to all that, the powdery mildew, the downy mildew, and all that.
mildew is his biggest weakness, and it's if you have any mildew pressure on your ranch, you better check there first.
Okay.
And so it's always problematic in that sense. It's managed in doing well in our region because we don't have the phylloxera issues with sandy loam soils. It's spared us here, but it does well. Even again, because it is the latest harvest, there have been at least 3 vintages of the last 22 for me where we're picking it in the rain. It's like you're geared up, you got your rain suit on, you're trying to spin it into the crusher, and you got protection over the top of your
Sorting table?
The sorting table as well as your forklift, spin dumper, and 15-20 minutes into that, the hell with it. It's like just run with it. We're soaked to the bone, but we're loving every second of it because it closes the season, but in the way it opens the value of that season too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting. So when we have a question from Michael, we are curious too. So Carignan typically, like as a single varietal, which is not very common, but you guys make an incredible one. Like, what would you say is the aging potential of this wine? Because as I'm sipping it, the acidity is magnificent. Like there's just magnificent is the only word that comes to my mind, and that's not that is not giving it justice, honestly. But the acidity and the tannic backbone is so well implemented into the wine, and the dark fruits and the spice and the we're gonna go
it's earthy. That's
the earth, but it's
Yeah.
kind of like a like caramelly too. There's like a toasted caramel to it. It's so beautiful. So like, what if I can drink this now, and I'm going to drink a lot of it tonight. But what is the lay down period? What would you suggest in terms of how long this can lie down?
On this 2019.
I would say
on this 2019, and then in general, what somebody can expect for a Carignan.
You know what? I think, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I would say 5 to 7 years. I think because we do have a little bit more acid in this, it helps with the longevity, because it's going to soften the longer that we keep it in our cellar. But I think 5 to 7 years is
yeah, I totally agree with that.
okay.
I'll have to pull back some of the other vintages to see how far back we can go.
See how they go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Come on out. We'll jump into the library and see how far back we can go. Before we...
Okay.
All right,
I'm on my
okay,
way.
I'll come out for that.
I'm on my way.
Okay.
October, November, December, I can do Monday to Thursday.
Okay. Come on over.
I've been known to come out for like 3 days.
Okay.
4 days.
We'll find you a spot.
No problem. No problem.
Cool.
So what are the characteristics of the grape? So somebody that is new to the wine, what can they expect? The flavors. I mean, we're talking about baking spices.
I think you get a lot of red there.
Caramel. I got some a little cigar box on it.
Oh, I love that. Yep.
Our suggestion just took it.
Yep. I love that, the meatiness and the earthiness of it. I think that's one of my favorite characteristics of this wine. I like it because it's something that is unexpected. If you're one who drinks a lot of cab, it's unexpected. So it's not something that people are used to drinking. And sometimes I think the same thing about the Alicante Boucher. It's a flavor that's unexpected. So it pairs well with a lot of different foods. We always say that it's one of the best ones for Thanksgiving dinner because it goes really well with dressing or
Cranberry relish.
Cranberry. We did a winemaker dinner that Michael helped with, and the chef paired it with venison, and it paired beautifully with that. That was something that was really nice.
Michael is saying he's getting plum, fig Newton, earthiness, crushed berries, and Bing cherry.
Oh, I love the fig Newton.
The fig Newton, So I'm also getting if you've ever been to the to the east coast of Spain, like the Jumilla region, there's that bramble, that rosemary kind of brushness.
It's like the Mistral in France, like when you smell Mistral.
Yes.
Yep, I love that. I'll often say that about some of the wines here too. That's cool. That's interesting that you picked that up.
Yeah, it is so complex, but not to the point where this is a nerd only wine.
No, it's easy drinking.
I was just going to say it's easy. It's very easy drinking. I have that written in my notes. I mean,
it's one of the two of the California characteristics of why Carignan was so popular with the big wineries was it came towards the end of the harvest cycle. So I'm talking like Gallo. It was huge.
In case anybody didn't know.
Yeah, I'm talking Gallo. So it was what it offered was the spice cabinet at the end of a long season. What name your varietal? You got 500,000 gallons in this tank. They have 1 million gallon tanks. It's like, oh my God. And so what did the Carignan have to offer? It had, it was late harvest, so it came later harvest. So it came in with high acidity. It came in with intensity of fruit. Its fruit expression is undeniably accurate always. You can, if we aged a Zinfandel, any of our Zins, to that late of date, we would be into the prune and stewed fruit.
Stewed fruit.
Stewed fruit. If not, the younger vines would be in the.
Not to mention, what alcohol level would you be at?
Yeah.
And these, I think we're at like 14.2 here. So.
What is it?
I
don't have my glasses. You tell me.
14.21. Yeah.
You were off by
Nice.
Come on, girl.
Yeah. So I think we usually bring this in and it's still at like 25 bricks. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. And now I did interrupt you. Debbie had asked the question of food pairings and suggestions, and she had mentioned that you're a vegetarian, Tana. So I'm interested in that because the big joke is I love wine, but I don't eat food. So I interrupted you. What are some of your favorite pairings with this Carignan?
Wild rice and like baked squash, like an acorn squash.
Oh, you're talking my jam there.
Would go really well with this. I said venison because that's what the chef chose. With I think that was our 2015. Pork shoulder I think does really well. You know what? It really goes well with pizza. You were talking about that you had pizza.
I had pizza with leftover bolognese sauce. We made pizza with bolognese.
You know what?
Sauce.
Yeah. It would go really well with bolognese sauce. Yeah. So it's versatile, and I think that high acidity makes it more versatile in some ways. I don't know. I love it. Just about anything would make me happy with it.
Greg, what about you? What are you pairing with this?
I agree with. She is a vegetarian. I'm a meat guy, so almost filet mignon, I think would really work well with this as well.
I can see that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, it's definitely the Thanksgiving wine. You know, with the turkey. You know, especially.
Now we have ham at Thanksgiving too, and this would do well with ham as well. We have ham,
like a fresh ham.
Yeah.
It's just it can meet a lot of food types dead on center and run with its own expression. It's definitely carries its own merit. You know, when you taste, if you're acclimated to wine tasting, which we all are, it's just like, oh, that's a Carignan. You know, it's I think it could be even risotto, all kinds of
like a good mushroom risotto. Awesome with that. Yeah.
So this is a side bar for everybody else, but for me, this is like a main course. Dried herb roasted potatoes.
Ooh,
okay.
I would do that all day long with that rosemary.
Right? Oh my gosh, with that rosemary. Oh, this is like, I know people put that as their side dish.
Paul makes that all the time. Paul makes that all the time. That's my husband. That's his favorite side dish.
Good.
That sounds
roasted amazing. Potatoes with fresh rosemary from the garden. And oh my gosh, time.
Calling for that.
Potatoes, roasted with olive oil and then slightly smashed, with the.
Ooh. There
Yeah, absolutely. It brings up that brambly, that those herbs that are in here that are just incredible.
I am just in love with this.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Glad you're enjoying
and there's even
I just might have to stay in my office here all night and finish the bottle and not share it with my husband who's downstairs.
There's even like blueberry on the back end of it that like every time I put my nose into the glass, there's another aroma that
you get a little bit something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the little bit of raspberry that I get too. Yep.
I get the baking spice, but a little bit more cinnamon is more pronounced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Michael is suggesting a paella.
Ooh,
I like the idea.
Yes.
Yes.
Good choice, Michael.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Lots and lots of suggestions for Carignan.
And this is just such an easy drinking, versatile, food friendly wine.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We think so too.
And so I'm going to ask just what is the retail price for this? How does somebody purchase this? Because
they can purchase from our website, jessiesgrovewinery.com. And I think we're at the $48 price point.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
that's right.
I think it. I don't even. It might even be 42. I'm not sure.
It's either way. It's
Well worth it.
it's worth. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
Well
very.
worth every cent.
Yeah,
Thank you.
like Tana was saying, there's only 2 vineyards that we know of, ours and the other one that she mentioned earlier, that reside in that antique aged category. And to me, that's age absolutely matters on this varietal, as well as Zen. You can't get that kind of quality unless you're hit the century mark or further.
Right.
We're at $45.
There you go.
45.
That's incredible. Right in between the 48 and 42.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah. That's why we work good together. We're it's a medium. Just that.
It is absolutely stunning. The wine is absolutely stunning. And
Thank you.
again, I have to thank Michael Kelly for introducing us.
Yes.
to
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
We thank Michael too. Yes. Thank you, Michael.
You know, absolutely stunning. And so I do want to go. We didn't talk a little bit the beautiful horse that is on the label. What's the story behind the horse?
Most of the vineyards, or not most, but many of the vineyards that are here are named after horses that have been associated with the winery, or not with the winery, but with the ranch. And so we kind of adopted that as our, I guess, our logo. And our West Wind Vineyard is a Zinfandel block that was named after a horse. The Fancy Quest is also a horse that was associated with the ranch, and the actual label for that wine is Greg's nephew, who is on what's her name, Talarla, which is the daughter, I think, of Fancy Quest. And
to a national level in cutting horse, he is considered highly ranked in the professional circuit for cutting horse trainers. He actually, I think it was 2 years ago, he came back from Texas, I believe. He won. He got second place in the worlds.
Wow.
That's how good he is. And Talarla, it's fun when you're all about history.
yeah,
And you're representing Jessie's Grove as history, and here is the great grandson of Jessie on top of a horse that is the daughter of Fancy Quest, the name of the label.
Wow. And what is cutting? What is
a cutting horse?
Cutting horse is cattle related. They work in a large corral, and there's a herd of cattle in there, and you have to as the rider in the competition as solo, you have to pull away from the herd 3 or 5 different cows, heifers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then you isolate it down to 1, and then you're graded and judged upon your horses and your skill as a rider to dramatize keeping that 1 cow, her heifer or steer, away from the pack.
Everybody else.
And that's the only thing you do is get back. And these horses, some of the deep cuts and almost the horse is almost on the ground, going left, going right, speeding the cow down the rail away from the pack and stopping, turning. It's phenomenal to watch.
Wow.
Had the pleasure of doing that, working on a ranch and in road horses that were that geared, and that's what he does. He trains as a professional rider, and he's up in Jackson. He has the Meyer Ranch. His last name is Meyer. He has, he goes back to the Midwest as a professional, but he also takes his amateur riders, the ones that own the horses, and they go with him. And and they in the amateur version are winning top honors as well.
Wow.
Cool.
See, I was completely off by the beauty of this horse. I thought it was like a dressage type of
the horse selection there was doesn't, I wouldn't say signifies quarter horse that we're affiliated with. It's more a dressage type of horse, but it's the emblem itself, just having the horse emblem aspect, is because our ranch is built on horsepower, and I don't mean tractor, I mean horse. You know, we go back to the 1860s on this ranch, and we had teams of 40 to 50 horses here all the time. You know, they drove the big harvesters, you know, as in wheat harvesters. You know, it's all in my mom's book. It's amazing history, but it's
amazing.
So that's what we're about, and naming it after horses is just a natural occurrence.
Beautiful. And so how can people find you? How can they come taste with you? What are your tasting in our post-pandemic world?
Post, I love it.
Yes, post. We like the word post.
Yeah.
Come on out to Lodi. We're open every day from 12 till noon, or what is it, noon
12 to 5, yeah. And then,
we don't work in the tasting room, can you tell?
that's their job.
We're open sometime.
Yep, we're open noon to 5, and on Saturdays and Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
Friday and Saturday now we're open until 7.
This is brand new.
Yeah,
we
it
just
is brand new.
extended our hours, so that's new to us.
It is new to us, and we are doing a concert series right now. We have 4 concerts left. So every other Saturday, we're doing tribute bands, and so we've got Cripple Creek and Whiskey Dawn. We've got a Bay Company, and that's a bad company band.
Oh, nice.
Eagles tribute band, and our last one would be a Leonard Skinner. So those are every other Saturday.
Sweet.
So, so find that on our website. Jesse's.
We all heard of those groups. I think Foreigner Journey was our first, and as they called Forjor, and our second was
Boston,
and
Nice.
I forget what they did. It's on that.
And I just saw a Def Leppard tribute band that was like amazing.
Oh, cool! That's amazing.
It's fun.
Yeah, we should.
We've
look
done
that up.
We've done Beatle Mania. So we did the whole segment of it. We've had original artists here too. We've had oh gosh,
Shane Dwight.
Well, Shane Dwight and Tommy Castro, as you know, in the hip hop, we've had a tribute band that emulated the Temptations.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh, wow. So
Lydia
all of these can be purchased online? Do they purchase tickets online?
Yes, they can.
Find it? Tell us your website. Can they find all the
Jessie's,
information on your website?
Jessie'sGroveWinery.com.
There you go.
And can they find you on social media as well?
Absolutely. We're on Facebook, and we also do Instagram. And tickets can be purchased from Eventbrite through our website. So, or from the website.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So they should follow you on Eventbrite to find out all the tickets.
Absolutely. Yep.
We'll have 800 to 1,000 people out here at these concerts, and we've been doing concerts.
Wow.
I think this is our 19th year of doing concerts.
It's called Groovin' in the Grove.
Yeah.
All right. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
All right, Deb, you got to get your butt out here so we can go.
I know. Well, after the wedding, my daughter's getting married in October. So after the wedding, I'll actually have Sunday to Thursday free. So
there we go.
And then January, February, and March. So we'll figure it out.
I'd love
to figure it out.
I would like to, on behalf of Debbie and I, thank you for coming and joining us tonight and sharing the Carignan, the history of Carignan, and the amazing information about your vineyard site and Jessie's Grove Vineyard. So, Slancha.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank
It's
you.
been a pleasure. It's our pleasure.
Really been enjoyable. Thank you.
It's
Thank
our
you.
pleasure.
And once again, thank you, Michael Kelly, for the introduction.
Thank you,
Indeed,
Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Cheers. Bye, everyone. Good night.
Bye.
So much.
Bye-bye.